Hello guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this story. I was finally back home. I'd always loved my wife, Jessica, and I missed her terribly. I pulled out my old Zippo lighter, a gift from her. It said, "To my beloved husband, David." Congratulations, Marine. My name was David Johnson, but everyone called me Dave. I was a Marine for over 3 decades. I saw a lot during my service, and I earned every medal I have. I met Jessica after work one day. I was a mechanic at a car dealership in Helena, Montana. She was stranded on the side of the road. Her car hood was up, and steam was coming out of the engine. I offered to help, and I quickly fixed her car. "Thank you so much," she said. "I thought I'd never make it back to Billings." "Just get home safe," I replied. "Let me repay you," she insisted. "How about dinner? You like Red Lobster?" I couldn't resist. "Yeah, I love Red Lobster," I said. She wrote down her name and number. "Great. How about Friday at 7 p.m.? "Sounds perfect," I confirmed. That Friday marked the start of our journey together. 8 months later, I proposed, and by 1987, we were married. Jessica moved into my house in northern Montana. It was a legacy I hoped to one day pass down to our kids. Despite the long hours and my commitments with the Marines, Jessica never complained. She was always there, even depositing what she could into my IRA. Our daughter, Emily, was born about a year and a half into our marriage. Then, in 1990, I got called up to active duty for over a year. By the time I got home, our son, Charlie, was born. After September 11th, things changed. I went on active duty again, rotating between Camp Lejeune in California and Camp Redstone in North Carolina. Jessica adapted, getting certified to teach in both states, securing work wherever we ended up. My time in service included 3 tours in Iraq, 3 in Afghanistan, and 4 stints in Okinawa, totaling over 6 years away from home. Through it all, Jessica held down the fort, even though I knew how hard it was on her and the kids. I had promised Jessica this would be my last deployment. At 56, I knew desert warfare was for the younger guys. It was time to come home for good. I was still searching for Jessica when I met a stranger named Sam. He offered me a ride. During our conversation, Sam told me he had information about Jessica's infidelity. "I have information about Jessica's affair with her school principal," Sam said. "It's been going on for over 2 decades. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. "How do you know?" I asked. "Our investigators are thorough," Sam explained. "They pieced it together from conversations between your wife and Mackenzie." I was devastated. I couldn't believe Jessica would do this to me. "What about the kids?" I asked. "They're yours," Sam assured me. "Our investigators confirmed it." I was still in shock. "How can you be sure?" I pressed. "Our investigators confirmed it," Sam replied. "They matched your kid's DNA to yours." I was speechless. "I bet you had a feeling she wasn't meeting me at the airport, right?" Sam asked. "I did," I confirmed. "Investigators say they meet after school, and once a week, they go to your place. Then he drives home," Sam explained. 70 miles round trip just for a fling. I couldn't believe it. "How could she?" I muttered. "It happens," Sam shrugged. "Long trips, time apart, war, it changes people. Strains even the best marriages. The question is, what now?" Sam asked. "If all this checks out, divorce is my only option," I concluded. "Agreed," Sam nodded. "And him?" I asked. "I'd like to tear him apart, but I won't risk jail," I said. "I understand," Sam said. "All the details are in the report. Mackenzie is married with 2 kids. His family has no idea about the affair." "You swear this is accurate?" I pressed again. "Absolutely," Sam affirmed. "If I had any doubts, I wouldn't have shown you." "I'm sorry, David," Sam said. "You don't deserve this." "Who does?" I muttered bitterly. "Well put," Sam agreed as we pulled into my secluded driveway. "You're really off the beaten path," he remarked, admiring the property. "Yeah, my parents built this place," I replied. "I was hoping Jessica and I could retire here together." "Looks like it's just me now," Sam said. Sam handed me a business card. "Call me when you're ready," he said. "Come to the camp. We'll talk, give you a tour, introduce you around. We have counselors too if you need them. I'm serious about the job, but this comes first, he said, nodding toward the folder. Thanks, Sam, I said. For the ride, the offer, for everything. I'll handle it, I promised him. I'll be in touch. We shook hands, and I grabbed my bags before he drove off. I headed inside, still reeling from what Sam had told me. The house was neat, just the way Jessica liked it. I put my things away, changed into jeans and a t-shirt, and grabbed the folder. Needing answers, I went downstairs, put the DVD in, and hit play. The footage showed Jessica and Eric in a motel room. When are you gonna leave him? Eric asked. Probably not until he retires, she replied. I clenched my fists. Eric continued. If you play your cards right, you could get half of his retirement and most of his savings. Good thing I had a prenup, I thought bitterly. I had heard enough. I grabbed a phone book and called a family law attorney, setting up an appointment for the next morning. Afterward, I gathered Jessica's things and set them by the door. If she wanted to leave, she could. As I sat reflecting on the couch, I couldn't believe how blind I'd been. We had our ups and downs, but I never imagined she'd cheat, especially with a guy like Eric. I laughed at the thought. He looked like a marshmallow. I grabbed some duct tape, zip ties, and my unloaded .45 pistol from my office, then sat in the dining room waiting for them. It was dark when I heard their car in the garage. As they entered the house, Jessica's eyes widened when she saw me. Gavin, when did you get here? She asked, trying to act casual. Didn't you get my emails and messages? I replied. Sorry, my phone died, she said. I wasn't buying it. You mean it's not you and Eric about to have fun in our bed? Eric froze when I raised my gun. Oh God, please don't do this, he begged, a wet spot forming on his pants. I made them go outside, and Jessica tied him to a tree with the duct tape. By the time she was done, he was wrapped up tight, only his eyes and nose visible. I called his wife, Caitlin. Your husband is here with my wife. You might want to come get him. Eric trembled in his duct-taped cocoon while I talked to Jessica. How long has this been going on? I asked, showing her the DVD. She looked down and mumbled, since 1995. I felt my blood boil. So, while I was overseas, risking my life, you were fooling around with this loser? I demanded. Jessica started crying. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. It's too late for that, I said coldly. I'm meeting a lawyer tomorrow. She glared at me. Eric told me if we divorce, I can take half your pension and the house, she said, trying to sound threatening. I laughed. Remember the prenup you signed? You'll get 40% of our savings, no support, and I keep the house and my retirement. Jessica went pale as I played the video of her and Eric. You're going to sign the divorce papers, I told her. Defeated, she nodded, realizing her job and their affair were now on the line. I fast-forwarded to the part on the DVD where Jessica complained about me being too big for her. I paused, feeling a mix of confusion and anger. Can you explain that to me? I asked. We've been together for years, and you never said a word. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to hurt your feelings, she replied, looking down. At first, I liked it, and you always turned me on, but after a while it started to hurt. I sighed. So that's why you've been avoiding me? She nodded. Yes. I'm really sorry. Yeah, you keep saying that, I muttered. I grabbed her purse, took out her house key, and removed her credit cards, leaving only her SDCU card, her separate account for emergencies. You'll be fine using that, I said, tossing the purse back on the couch. I guess I should pack and leave, Jessica whispered. Not yet, I said. There's more to do. You need to tell the kids why we're getting divorced. Her face turned pale. Please, don't make me do that. Why not? They deserve the truth. Trembling, she picked up the phone and called our son, Charlie. Mom, are you okay? He asked. No, Charlie. Your father and I are getting divorced, she said softly. Did Dad cheat on you? Charlie asked, confused. No, I cheated on him, Jessica confessed, her voice breaking. There was silence on the line before Charlie spoke. Mom, how could you? I grabbed the phone. It's true, son, I said, but I'm okay. I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry, Dad, Charlie replied. We hung up, and Jessica's sobs filled the room. One more call, I reminded her. I can't, she pleaded. Please don't make me. One more, I insisted. Jessica dialed our daughter, Veronica. The conversation was far worse than with Charlie. Veronica was furious. You stupid cow. I can't believe you did this to Dad, she screamed. You'll never see your grandkids again. Veronica hung up, leaving Jessica in tears, broken. I watched her for a moment. Now do you understand the consequences of your actions? I asked coldly. You've destroyed our family. Jessica wiped her eyes. Everyone hates me now, she whimpered. What did you expect? I replied. Now, it's time for you to leave. Jessica packed her things, and as she reached the door, Caitlin, Eric's wife, arrived. Caitlin shot Jessica a smirk. So, your husband's been screwing mine for years, she asked. Jessica glanced down in shame. Yes. Well, Caitlin said, I guess you won't mind if I poach your man. Jessica looked horrified. You wouldn't, she stammered. Why not? Caitlin smirked. Seems like fair payback. I shrugged. Best offer I've had in a while. Jessica broke down, sobbing as she stumbled out the door. Later, Caitlin and I talked about the mess we were both in. What's your next move? She asked me. Not sure yet, I replied. You? She sighed. I was a stay-at-home mom for years. I'll figure it out. We shared a quiet moment before I asked, Want to stay over? She smiled softly. I wouldn't mind. The next morning, as I prepared for my lawyer meeting, Caitlin saw me in my uniform and gasped. You're in the military? Marines, I corrected. 1 more month until retirement. She looked at the ribbons on my chest. What are those for? Different things, I said with a wry smile. Some are for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. She looked impressed. You're stronger than you realize, Gavin. I nodded, knowing there was a long road ahead but feeling ready to face it. I met with the lawyer, and things went smoother than I expected. After going through all the paperwork, my prenup, financials, and other evidence, he assured me that Jessica's income meant alimony was unlikely. The house and my pension were protected, but the joint bank account would need to be split according to the prenup. When do you want to move forward? He asked. As soon as possible, I replied without hesitation. Got it, he nodded. Getting this filed in Montana might take a little extra work, but we do it all the time. He handed me a checklist to make sure I took care of everything on my end. Hopefully, she hasn't touched your account yet. I scanned the list and saw that I needed to go to the bank immediately. The rest I could handle online. I thanked him, paid the fee, and left feeling a small sense of relief. It was tough, but at least I was in control of the situation. The next morning, I went to the bank. Luckily, Jessica hadn't touched the account yet, so I transferred almost everything into my personal account, leaving just enough for her to get by until she figured things out. I wasn't about to leave her stranded, but I wasn't going to let her drain me dry either. Afterward, I went home and started packing. I wasn't ready to sell the house just yet. There was too much going on, and I needed the stability. I packed up my essentials, left the rest for Jessica, and made a list of important documents to keep with me. Then, I scheduled a moving company to come the following week and called Caitlin to let her know I was free. She said she'd be over in a few hours. I spent the rest of the day cleaning and organizing, trying to distract myself. By the time she arrived, I had everything packed. She helped me load the truck, and we made the drive to her place, chatting the whole time. Her house was in a quiet neighborhood, far different from the secluded property I was used to, but it was cozy and welcoming. She showed me to the guest room, and I unpacked. That night, we made love again, and it was just as good as the first time. In the morning, Caitlin made breakfast, and we talked about our plans. I'm thinking about getting a job at the local community college, she said. I could teach English or history. That sounds perfect, I agreed. I'm considering something like that too. I've also been thinking about helping out with the local veterans group, she added. There are a lot of vets around here who could use some support. That's a great idea, I said. I'd love to help with that. We spent the rest of the day relaxing, enjoying each other's company. The following week, the movers came, and I said goodbye to the house. I felt a mix of sadness and relief as I watched it disappear in the rearview mirror. Starting over was hard, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. A new chapter was waiting for me, and I was ready to see where it would lead. A few weeks later, the divorce was finalized. I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. It was a long, emotional journey, but I was finally free to move forward. Caitlin and I continued seeing each other, and our bond only grew stronger over time. She was an incredible woman, and I couldn't help but feel grateful every day for having her by my side. I also threw myself into my work with the local veterans organization. Helping other veterans readjust to civilian life gave me a renewed sense of purpose. Being part of something bigger, seeing others overcome their struggles, it was rewarding in a way I hadn't expected. Slowly, I found peace with the past. Sure, I had lost a lot, but I had gained more than I could have ever imagined. One evening, Caitlin and I were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. "I've been thinking," she said, breaking the comfortable silence. "What if we bought a house? Something quieter, more out of the way." I nodded, mulling it over. "I'm up for it, as long as it's not too far from the city. I still like being close to things." We spent the next few months house hunting, and after what felt like endless weekends of driving around, we found it, a charming little cottage in the countryside. It was perfect, quiet, cozy, and just what we both needed. Not long after, we moved in together. Life felt good, calm, and steady. A year later, we got married. It was a simple, intimate ceremony, just the two of us and a few close friends. Nothing fancy, but it was perfect for us. We honeymooned in the Bahamas, where we spent days relaxing on the beach and enjoying each other's company. It was the best vacation I'd ever had. When we got back, we started planning the next phase of our lives. We talked about having children, something we both wanted. The thought of raising a family together excited us. A few months later, Caitlin became pregnant, and I don't think I've ever been happier. When she gave birth to our son, we named him Michael, after my father. Seeing him for the first time, holding him in my arms, it was a feeling I could never put into words. I was overwhelmed with love and pride. Watching Caitlin care for Michael was beautiful. She was a natural mother, patient and loving, and I felt blessed every day. Time flew by, and before we knew it, Michael was growing up, bright, curious, and full of life. He made us prouder than we could have imagined. Caitlin and I remained happy, deeply in love, and completely content with the life we had built together. Looking back on everything, I realized that while I had lost a lot, I had gained so much more in return. Life had taken me down a path I didn't expect, but I was grateful for how things turned out. I was happy, truly happy, and for that, I couldn't have asked for more. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.